Yeah. Yeah, this wonderful background music was by the man is right. Was composed by Ifield, one of the greatest musicians of the Dominica. Love this piece there. You should check it out. Support our Dominican musician. Ifield in particular, he has a studio in Canada and he has worked with some really top artists. It's lovely, lovely, lovely music. I wouldn't play much of it, but you should check it out. So this is a very late night talk. It's also almost like me just getting some stuff together here, but I'll talk about some of the issues that I saw in Dominica and with respect to our roads and bridges. Just briefly, and earlier today I was listening to Q95, and they were talking about the Antrim, the road in the area of Antrim, that's above Canefield. I passed on there a few times while I was down there. I don't like passing on that place at all, at all, at all. I think it's it can be a dangerous thing to do because there's definitely some earth movement and it's moving slowly, but you just never know when it's gonna hit that tipping point and just gonna take off and cause some serious disaster. So I would say for people traveling on that road, especially during heavy rain, I would avoid it. Definitely. I would avoid passing on that road especially during heavy rain. And the thing to everything, I think there can be a solution, but for you to get a solution, you have to know what the root cause is. And some of the equipment they may need to do the investigation, I am certain is not readily available in Dominica. I'm talking about the Antrim road, that piece of road that is settling down in above Canefield. So yeah, so earth movement can happen very slow and some of it can happen very rapidly. The thing is, while this area is moving slow, if it continues, it can reach a point where it reaches a tipping point. It's like you're pushing something over the edge, right? And eventually it can just slide off. So you want to make sure you know what is happening under the ground. So there are instrumentations that can be used to tell you exactly how far beneath the surface that mass of soil is moving, and along what plane, where there is a flat area, where there is a slope, and so on. So you can get some information on that to come up with solutions. That the problem too that they are doing when they're backfilling, one of the factors that pushes land to slide is the weight of the soil itself. So when they are backfilling and they put in heavy material on there, they might be adding to the problem. So it's sliding down, it's sinking, and you're adding more. So you're adding more weight to it. In other words, you put in a stronger driving force behind it. So that Antrim area. So without doing any instrumentation or anything, my recommendation would be to remove some of the heavier material. If you're not gonna, you don't have the equipment to do, and maybe you can take the best chance I would maybe take is to replace some of the heavy material with some lightweight backfill. There are different type of lightweight backfill that can be used to replace the existing soil that's in that antrim area. And if you put a lighter load on there, it will less likely to push off that soil. There is even some styrofoams that are specially made for those kind of applications, slope stability application, that can be used to reduce that driving force, and you could still have a solid roadway. So adding, when it's sinking and they keep adding more soil and more like stones and everything and compacting it, that might be adding to the problem. So just some open and free advice for the people managing that road. Another thing I see while I was in Dominica is those bridges. Now, many of you didn't check those out, but thing like the Hodges Bridge, I will show you briefly. So that's the Hodges Bridge, and so that's the bridge right after Woodfordale, between just when you're leaving Woodfordale, that other end of Woodfordale going toward Calibishie. There is the structure itself, what we call the superstructure, that upper part of the bridge looked decent to me. I thought, I know that road has been built there for a while, but I noticed some issues on the foundation of it. If you see, there's a big crack, diagonal crack on the abutment, the supports at the end of the bridge. That diagonal crack, it's large enough that I could see it on my camera. It indicates that that bridge may be overloaded, overstressed. And then we have the foundation look like it's undermined quite a bit. So somebody needs to check that one out also. Apart from the Mantipo Bridge, which I've seen some dramatic changes between 2022 and 2024, like you see here. So that first one was 2022, the second one was 2024, and a lot of the reinforcements already so deteriorated and failed. And when you have a situation like that, the bottom reinforcement is the main reinforcement on a beam like that. And when those reinforcements fail, then you may have a serious problem on your hand. You could have a brittle failure. The concrete will just give away rapidly. It could happen. It could just break basically suddenly. And there are only 3 beams on that bridge. If one gives away, then that could result in the closure of the bridge. I don't think that bridge can operate under 2 beams. So somebody needs to pay some attention to that bridge. Yeah. And then we're looking at our famous other project going on. No, it's not playing. Yeah, but the other project there is that airport project, which has a lot of issue in itself. I'm hoping that the airport comes through. I'm hoping that the airport comes through, but there are some things that did not start off right on there, and I hope that they can make some improvement or correction at this time before they go further. And the main one is paying the people for their land. There are still a lot of people that have not gotten paid for their properties as yet, even though they have land papers. So we heard that the people that didn't get paid were the people that did not have land papers. But I've spoken with several people that told me they have their land papers and they still have not gotten paid. And there are several other people without the title in their names and have not gotten paid for their property. So that's a big problem. That's one of the biggest problem with that airport project, apart from the physical challenges that they have and the destruction of our community. And so I hope for all the destruction that happened to Wesley that the airport comes through and we really have an airport where we can get direct flights from several countries and we realize some significant economic improvement as a result of that. So yeah, but that's gonna happen several years down the road. If it goes to completion, it's gonna be several years down the road. It's not gonna, there's definitely not gonna be an airport the next year. No, or the year after. It's gonna take several years. And the government are really poor, even though roads are going up to through the new area of Wesley and Hammond and those areas. That road is still very narrow. You could only take one vehicle there, and they're gonna be, once they cut off the road, the main roads in Wesley, all main roads in Wesley gonna cut off. That is gonna be the main road going to connect to the north. And it's right now it's a single lane. There are some people that already built their houses that the retaining walls are right on the road. So basically there's no way to expand, to widen the road. That should have been done before. There's no way to widen the road, cut off all roads. The road from Baptiste is gonna be cut off. The road bottom Wesley, in fact, bottom Wesley Road is cut off already, because when I was down there, they actually dig a whole big trench in the road. So once you pass by D-less area, you can't go further on that road. Eden Road, that main road for the village, gonna be cut off soon too. Well, I don't know how soon, but it's gonna be cut off eventually. And they have to provide an alternate route to get to the other side of Wesley. And so that's another problem there. So where are they going to pass the road? They have to pass around. They have to pass around the whole airport project. So they were showing a tunnel going through, passing on through Bowell and coming up by that corner where Balawan and this other guy passed on a motorbike. So right where they have the plants now, they were showing a road coming up there. Well, I know that tunnel ain't gonna happen, because currently the facility for the cement plant and the asphalt plant, they are right in the way of that tunnel that's supposed to come up there. It's supposed to connect back to the roadway. So by the time it reach up there, it's supposed to daylight back to the top. So, and right now, the stuff that are around there's no way that they can use there. So that tunnel, I predicted that it wouldn't happen. I would still be shocked if it happened. I think it'll be too costly, and the practicality of the technicality of getting that tunnel, the entrance, especially below Bowell there with that steep drop, and taking additional land, maybe in Priest Gutter area or below where Melbo had that bakery. That's additional land they would have to take, and I cannot see that being very practical. And so that may be another problem on the hand. There's a road, I see a proposed road going from the end or the start of Phillips Avenue down Eden Road, going straight down to Woodfordale. I haven't seen anything going on that as yet. All these roads should be done prior to closing of all the roads in going through, especially that main road going on through Woodfordale or through the north. And those things are not in place yet. So what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? So that's why that airport, if it comes through, is many years down the road, because they a lot of stuff they're not putting things in the right order. First thing, the right order should be that everyone should be paid before the project, the actual construction started. They should settle the land issues first. Currently there are some houses that are within the construction area, and they are placing fill around on both sides in that region around the house. So the houses look like they're down in a little bowl right now, and people are still staying there because they haven't gotten paid as yet. That's the kind of mess I've seen down there. And then we have that water, that ponded water. Somebody suggests they should keep the lake here. Keep the lake. Well, they would have to get a way to drain it, at least for it not to overflow and get to the on top of the airport. So that's something to keep the water level one way. But they have to pay people for their land too, because the water occupied lands that were not acquired, I know that for sure. It occupied some lands that were not acquired. So those lands at least are not accessible right now, at least for planting. So that's another issue. Somebody suggests you can put fishes in there. Hey, you know what? Maybe they can do that now to keep down those mosquitoes and all those things. But eventually they have to do another settlement with the people for the land around this area, around that area. So it's a whole set of things that would not put in place with the project. And Dominica and as a whole, with our high rainfall and working the soil, it's definitely gonna pose a serious challenge for them with filling and backfilling soil and just traversing along the area. It's a challenge. And then one of the thing that really upset me too is the way that they're not protecting the waterway. They're just very careless about that. They are stuff that you can use to mitigate sediments getting in your waterway. That is, some of them we call silt fence. So they have this fabric. Some of you maybe see it as a black fabric, maybe 3-4 feet high, and they kind of drive them together with stake into the ground. So when water passes through, when water runs off, the sediments will stay behind, and basically clean water, clean quote unquote, will pass through. A very little sediment will pass through. So then there are also other things within the stream themselves. They can use what they call check dams. They kind of block off, you kind of dam out the area, put stones consecutively to make dams. So what happens, that slows down the water, the sediments settle down before they, so as they in series, as they go further and further, by the time it reaches down to get to the sea, the water is basically clean. So there are several techniques. I heard some people say, oh, is when it rains and you have landslide, the same thing happens. But that's not the case. That soil is open, and every little rainfall, you have all those sediments going. So it can have very detrimental impact on the environment. I know the environment people can tell you way more of some of those effects on the environment that can actually have implications for fishes and then our own food supply, basically. So those things are things we have to take seriously. I know that guy down in Benz. He produces a lot of little different products from Dominica. I think his name is Winsteve, or at least on his Facebook. He has been he has been very vocal about that and the impact of those sediments on the waterway in Dominica. So yeah, so just sharing a little discussion, little light on some of these stuff, the roads, the airport, and so on. Yeah, in the US here, talking about bridges, we actually inspect bridges every 2 years. All the main bridges, you have to, by law, you have to inspect them every 2 years. And those on the highway, they get a visual inspection at least once a year. So every year you look at those things. In Dominica, and see the bridges, when the bridge seem to fall apart, that's when they actually go and take a look at them. That's not you always heard the old saying, a stitch in time saves nine. You can actually take precaution. You can be proactive and with some of those defects and cause the bridge to last much longer. I mean, everybody know about the Golden Gate Bridge, and those things are maintained often. If they were not maintained, they would not be here. That bridge would have fallen apart already. The Delaware Bridge, all those bridges in New York, if those bridges were not maintained, they would go already. So maintenance is very important for our bridges, and we really need to get an inspection program and maintenance program for those bridges in Dominica. And in fact, some years ago we had a case that could be avoided where a culvert basically washed off, and then it eventually washed out the roadway above, but those things were not being inspected, and then the whole roadway collapsed, and two guys died. Almost a third one almost lost his life, but only one escaped. Those guys from the east, if you remember that. So those are things that can be avoided if you do special inspection program. I know we had to. Sometime we have done it in the past where we had to go and look at some of the culverts along the road on 95. Some culverts that you would never know existed because they're so deep on the roadway. But after heavy rain, somebody got to go take a look at them to see if they were compromised. So that's the kind of thing, the precaution we take. And even with that, sometimes you still have some issues with roadway failing, but you can avoid a lot of disaster by having an inspection program for the bridges. Now, I would just say, general, I would be very cautious driving around Dominica, especially during heavy rainfall. I was always very concerned, especially with all the rainfall when I was there, driving down to Portsmouth, especially after I passed Calibishi, between Calibishi and Bonn, because the problem is our slopes, we cut our slopes so steep. The steeper the slope, the more susceptible it is to fall during landslide. So a lot of times that's one of the main problem. The slopes are cut too steep. But again, sometimes it's not very practical to back slope, but there are certain things we can do. We can terrace, we can do things, and I know they are implementing some of these techniques on more recent construction. I saw that in the between Pocasset and Roger area. They use terracing. So there's things you can use to minimize, but I would just say be very cautious, especially during rainfall, because heavy rain can trigger landslides. And the problem is soil is way heavier than water. If you get trapped in soil, just even just from your waist down, it can kill you because it's so heavy. So on average, about 120 pounds per cubic foot. Compare that to water, which is about 62.4 pounds per cubic foot. So soil is almost 2 times the weight. So it trapped you, and they can mess up your circulation, and that could actually cause your death. You don't even have to be fully buried. So be very cautious with 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 driving around in heavy rainfall, especially places that are susceptible. When we were down in Dominica, we were coming from Soufriere, driving back from Scott's Head, driving back to Point Michel, that area, and there were rock falls. There were several rock falls on our way going to Point to Scott's Head. I was very concerned about that. There were several of them on the road, and when we were driving back, we had 4 vehicles, our family, and there was a big rock. A big rock. I heard the noise from the back. So I was a little ahead. I heard the noise coming through the trees, coming from the side of the mountain. And I saw my brother-in-law and my sister, they stopped. And I was wondering what happened if the rock, because I told my children, hey, there's a rock fall. And the rock, a big piece of rock, it told me it was a big rock, barely missed one of them vehicles. It passed between both of them vehicles. So that's what I'm saying. Be very careful, even in the rock area for going between Scott's Head, Soufriere area up there, and Point Michel. Be very careful, especially during heavy rainfall. Those are what triggers for landslide. Yeah. So yeah. So just some of the little things I picked up in Dominica. I'm sure I had the discussion already, but always try to just make people a little more aware on certain things. Sometimes you drive over bridges and you never know what you're driving over. Just just be mindful. But there are some people who are in authority that's supposed to be taking care of these things, and we tend at this stage in our development, we seem like we are lacking some basic stuff that we could do to take those precautions to protect what we have and to protect the public from potential dangers. Yeah. So yep. So that's it for my late night talk. So everyone have a wonderful day. And I feel I use a little bit of your music. I know you wouldn't mind, but I love the music I feel, and I think everybody needs to go check out that music. I feel told me it is a labor of love, and it's really some really cool music. So I will leave you with that. Good night.